If you want to be taken seriously, don't look like a hoe on your Insta. Don't have your butt cheeks hanging out. Don't I mean have like maybe a few bikini pictures, whatever, but like really show that you care. Like network and be professional because no one is going to take you seriously. They're just going to think that you're just a hot piece of ass who wants to get likes holding a
Welcome
fish.
to Mosaic Minds, the podcast where every episode is a colorful blend of perspectives, ideas, and conversation. Each week, our diverse team of hosts brings their unique backgrounds, experiences, and interests to the table. Mosaic Minds is your invitation to join the conversation to see the world through a kaleidoscope of viewpoints. So grab a seat, tune in, and let the mosaic unfold before you. Welcome to another episode of Mosaic Minds podcast. My name is Nick, and to my left here is Jason. And today we have Stephanie. So it's Stephie Leigh, but I believe you go by Stevie. Is that right? Okay. All right. And she is a social media influencer that focuses a lot on fishing and outdoors life. From what I gathered, it looks like you've been fishing for about 10 years. Is that about right? About 10 years. And it's mostly large freshwater, correct?
Correct.
All right, good. Well, if you could just, I know I kind of give you a bio, but if you could just tell us just a little bit about your background and kind of how you started in fishing and how you got into social media and all that, and then we'll kind of go from there.
All right. Once upon a time, I was a college kid and I wasn't really an outdoorsman until I got to college. I went to a UW school, UW Stout. And when you go to Wisconsin school, I am based in Minneapolis, by the way. When you go to a Wisconsin school and you date all Wisconsin guys, you kind of just all you do is fish and hunt. So I really got into fishing and hunting, and then I joined the fishing club, the little fishing club they had there, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. I really like this. So after college, I saved up my money and bought my own bass boat, and I just started doing tournaments from there. And Jason and I just talked about how you have to put the time in. You got to put the time and the blood and the sweat and the hours on the lake, and it's totally worth it though.
So you were
Um,
just a natural.
yeah, I think so. I think some people are just naturals, but you have to love it too. I have a very competitive streak, um, so it's one of those things that um, I feel like I'm good at and I can actually compete in. Pickleball is not something that I do have a competitive streak in, but I'm just not very good at it, so I don't play it very often.
See, that's
Um,
how I am with fishing. I think that's why I don't fish more often because I suck at it. So like most of my fishing time kind of was taking fish off of hooks for my kids and getting lines untangled. So like maybe that's why I didn't have the best experience starting out there.
So I'm going to queue up a question. So I'm going to queue up a question for you. So averages say that you make 1,500 to 2,000 cast. Averages also say that you burn about 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. I can talk fishing all day long, but I want to ask from your perspective, how mentally and physically taxing is a fishing tournament of 8 or 9 hours, just for the general audience that's maybe never competed in an organized bass or
it
fishing in
depends on the
general tournament?
individual because I like to stand when I cast, and I like to hit the docks. So you got to be flipping, which is a little more physically taxing, I guess. But a lot of fishermen sit too while they fish. Also, it depends on what species, like musky, um, or if you're finesse fishing as well. Like if you're throwing a spinner bait, you're throwing a heavier lure versus if you're just throwing a Nico out there and you're just kind of letting it sink and kind of seeing what's going on. So it really kind of depends on what you're throwing, I think, that day. In Minnesota, I did a lot of finesse fishing this summer. But in the fall, the fish seem to be a little more active, so I'll be throwing a lot more moving baits moving forward. I have one more tournament left, so then I kind of turn to musky fishing, which is a little newer thing for me, but I seem to be pretty good at that too. So
Those are the ones that can like eat your hand off.
yeah, yep. They got some big teeth on them. We have some big ones up here. Lake Minnetonka, Mille Lacs, just I mean, they're not sturgeon size, but they get to be 50 plus
Well, I
for
saw. I
sure.
think Jason said that picture, that most recent picture on Instagram of yours. I think he said was a muskie, right?
I
Yep.
believe so. Wasn't what was that measurement wise?
I believe so. Wasn't what was that measurement wise?
49.
Just to kind of throw
Wow.
just general out.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
it
4
didn't
foot
hit
long. That's
50, so
crazy.
it's not going on my
So
wall until it hits 50.
so my only experience with the muskie was I was in this little cove and there were some boats and docks and stuff, and I told my cousin that was the boat operator that day, I said, man, a muskie should be hanging out here. Sure enough, I threw a spinnerbait out there on slow roll, and the thing would open its mouth and then close its mouth, and then I've read after I messed up that you're supposed to figure eight around the boat, to kind of draw that striking power. But it was so scary seeing a fish that I think was just a predator fish. Bass are predators as well, but I think muskie are the different level. So Minnesota, there's a ton of lakes up in that area. Like, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yep.
is that the state of 10,000 lakes? So, like, put it into perspective, if I drive 50 miles, I'm going to call it the country because we got cornfields here, right, and woods. But if I drive 50 miles in any direction in Minnesota, how many lakes do you think I'm seeing or, fisheries that I'm able to
there's
toss a
fish
line
in every
into?
lake. So, I'm that person that drives by a small lake slash pond, and I think there's fish in there. Every lake, I mean, I was just up north, and they were like, there's no fish in Long Lake. Like, there's no fish. And I mean, I pulled out 2 3 pound bass under a dock
Wow.
in a 2 hour span, and they had never seen anything like it. So it's like, there's always fish there. You just got to catch them, and you got to be patient.
So part of the skill just knowing, like,
Yep.
knowing, okay, if I were a fish, I would hide over here. Like, just knowing like what the, because I'm not an angler like Jason. So like part of the skill is that just knowing where to, where that fish probably is or are.
Yeah. I mean, it's just if it's really hot, they're, getting shade under the dock. And so I like to use what's called a stupid tube, and I like to skip it under the dock. And it's so silly because it's this tube, and usually it's a green pumpkin, and I just skip it on the dock and I let it sit. And I mean, a smallie will inhale it. It's ridiculous. Now you have to have a really good hook set game going on, and you have to be able to skip under a dock. It's not like you can just cast in front of it. Sometimes they'll do it, but like skipping under the dock, like a few feet, is pretty beneficial. And then in the springtime, a lot of people don't agree with this, but I like to do a lot of bed fishing. So they spawn. And so the big mamas, and I think Jason is probably the same in Indiana, they will sit on their beds. And the difference in spawn fishing, like bed fishing versus like regular fishing, is you're kind of just trying to piss the mom off. Like, I'll take a plastic and I'll just kind of like cast it over her bed and reel it slowly in. And then do it again to the point where she's like, get out of here. Like, I don't want you near here. And then she'll bite at your bait, and that's when you set the hook. Um,
So like, how would you know? How would you know like where the bed was? Like, you know what I mean? Like where the bed was.
you can see the bed. You can get like a platform if you want. Some people do, where the beds are usually more shallow. And so how I usually can tell is there's buoys. And so they usually have buoys where it's more shallow, so boats know. And so I'll go towards the buoys and kind of see, and then they'll be like in the shallows too, but you can see a fish bed if you're really looking for it. But the big mamas are sitting on them in the spring. And then in the summer, it gets a little hotter, so then they'll kind of be under the docks and stuff. And that's not, everything. I'm sure there's some fishermen listening going, that's not true. But in my experience, that's kind of how Minnesota weather is. I've had such good luck fishing docks. And I know, like, it's kind of the cowardly way out, but it's like, if you know that they're under the docks, I mean, why wouldn't you go to the docks and fish for them there if you know they're sitting under there instead of going all, 5 to 8 hours in a tournament, just kind of going wherever and going, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go to the docks at the end of the day. Like the docks are usually something I hit around noon because it's the hottest time. So.
I think, Nick, the bass bed actually looks like, if you can imagine what a tire looks like, about half the size of a tire. They rub out an area and it's like a dark black-ish circle. So if you have polarized glasses on, you can see below the surface and kind of, you can clearly, easily tell, hey, that's a bass bed there, or a bluegill bed. So fishing in Minnesota versus, let's say, Wisconsin, college to life now, any differences between the two states and maybe what you target versus how you fish, or is it kind of the same since it's in the same region, if you will?
In Wisconsin, you can have one more line in the water, so you can actually troll with one rod and then cast with another. That's not in Minnesota. Not really. I mean, I think a lot of people go to Green Bay for like walleye fishing, because Minnesota lakes just get so pressured. But I don't know. I haven't fished Wisconsin lakes in a while. I kind of just stay around where my tournaments are. I'll go up north. I was up at Gull Lake for a 2-day tournament a few weeks ago. But I kind of mostly just stay in the state of Minnesota now. I'm old.
I think you're in paradise from a lake and a differential. So what's the water clarity like? I know that's a general question. It can change, but what's the water clarity like for the most part within
It's been pretty
X amount
clear.
of radius?
It's been pretty good, which is good and bad. Sometimes I kind of get on the water. I'm like, oh man, they totally sprayed this lake, which really pisses me off because the fish are in the weeds, So one of my favorite forms of fishing is frogging. And if there's no lily pads or weeds, I can't do that anymore. But I think it's been pretty, but now that it's getting into the fall, it's getting a little muddier. But it really, like you said, it does depend on the lake, but it's been pretty clear.
And you go all year round, right? Like I think I saw some ice fishing photos, right?
Yep, I go all year round. Ice fishing is a little less interesting for me. I do not love being cold, but I do have a pop-up and all the gear for it. So I like to drink and just kind of like hang out. So it's fun. Well, and it just like it's more of a social thing up in Minnesota. You've seen Grumpier Old Men.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, actually.
It's really not that different than like what you see in Grumpier Old Men. Like you see, I mean, we have a lake called Lake Mille Lacs, which is pretty famous up here. And if you drive on Mille Lacs, it looks like little cities. Like people have ice houses that they have like 50-inch TVs in that they're watching football. And like they're watching football,
crazy.
But then out the window, they're watching their tip-ups. So it's kind of like, and then some of them will have like 2 stories, like they're enormous.
That's crazy.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
I could be exaggerating, but I think I'm right here. Is that the lake that you can almost order a pizza and kind of tell them the coordinates and they'll kind of like deliver a pizza out on the ice to you? I mean, that blows my mind.
It's like the best service ever. Like it's in Minnesota. If you were on Uber Eats or whatever, like you would totally make so much money. It's kind of like on Lake Minnetonka too up here. Jason, you and I just talked about Lake Minnetonka, which is a big, pretty famous lake up here. People will drive around in pontoons that have like ice cream cones and stuff and just like sell ice cream to people on yachts and stuff. What a great idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you think so? I would say that it's pretty fair to say that it's a male dominated sport for the most part. Wouldn't you say? Like, So do you feel like that's maybe an advantage because they're like, oh look, there's this girl out here fishing, and then you show them, tell them what time it is.
No, it's when I first started 10 years ago, the only other girl was Nicole Jacobs. And, no one really expects a girl to want to, because a lot of my friends that I'm like, hey, you want to go fishing? Well, I'll come, but I'll just tan on the back of your boat. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to deal with it. They'll come. But I think it's the icky factor for them.
Mm-hmm.
But, we had discussed my name is Stephanie, but I go by Stevie. So I originally um, decided to go by Stevie because when I would sign up for tournaments, no one knew I was a girl.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And then I would, yeah, and then I
Nice.
would pull up.
Nice. That's a cool
I have
story.
a red nitro, an 18-foot nitro, and I'd pull up in my red boat, and they'd be like, "There's a girl here." So I just did the Minnesota Bass Trail, which is like a 12 tournament series, in Minnesota, and my tournament partner is a female too. Her name's Stephanie as well. So I'm Stevie and she's Stephanie, and we were the only female team out of like 24 teams to do this. So it
How'd you
was
guys
a
do?
lot of fun. We did really well. We did really well. She and I get along really well. We did feel the heat though. We were like, okay, we need to do really well because we need to beat the boys. Not to sound like we're not feminists at all. We're not
Exactly.
sexist or anything. We're just like we want to beat the boys.
Of
It was
course.
like we look at each other before every tournament and let's like it's go time. And sometimes we do well and sometimes we win, but at the end of the day, it's about having fun and you know, doing your best. And as long as you don't zero and you get a whole bag, it's kind of a win.
Exactly. Exactly. Each lake and I'm a big topwater guy. We don't have as much frogs here because we don't have the emergent weeds up, but we throw the buzz baits on top of the grass. And, as you well know, I like a little cloud cover, a little bit of wind, but if it's not that condition, if it's a bluebird sky, you got to adjust accordingly. Hey, so per the Mosaic format, we're going to step away a little bit from fishing. Talk to us a little bit away from the water, what some of your activities are. You sent me in your bio that you have,
I do.
if I'm not
I have a
mistaken, a Shiba
little
Inu dog.
12-year-old Shiba Inu. His name's Bandit.
Okay.
And I don't know if you
Okay.
know what he is, but he looks like a little fox. He's the Dogecoin dog.
I was gonna say they call it as the my kids they like educated me on that because they were like, hey, look, Dad, we were walking on the canal in Indianapolis and they're like, hey, look, it's a Doge. I'm like, that's real? I thought that was like a fictitious dog. And they're like, no, that's what that is. But yeah, it looks like a little fox.
Yeah. So
So
originally Shibas are Japanese hunting dogs. And if you saw my dog, he has a bed in every single room. He gets halibut for dinner. Like he's so spoiled. He's at my mom's house right now. But like you would
Nice.
never think that he would
Nice.
his breed attacked bears at some point.
Now, calm enough to take in a fishing boat, or are they too hyper?
Now, calm enough to take in a fishing boat, or are they too hyper to be kind of in
It's
in a
funny
closed-in
because
area
like my
for the
Shiba
day?
is he's very much like ever since he was a puppy, he's kind of been like an old man. Like he just like disinterested, just doesn't love kids, doesn't really like love a lot of people. I mean, and he has been, been to the dog park and been around it, so it's not like I didn't try. But he kind of just is like, I'm good. He hates the water, he hates the boat. But then there was a guy who did the Minnesota Bass Trail with me, and his Shiba, he showed me videos of his Shiba, and it was a little female one because Bandit's a male. And she was like on the boat, and her ears were back, and the wind was blowing in her face, and she was like swimming in the water. Completely different from my dog. I'm like, what the heck? Is this the same breed? I don't understand. But I mean, I got my dog 12 years ago just because I'm Japanese and he's Japanese.
Hey.
And I was like, well, it just was meant to be. And he was super cute, but I'm a first dog owner. So like I knew nothing. And then I found out that like they're like, oh, if you're a first time dog owner, Shiba probably isn't the dog to get. So
Oh, really?
I learned that the hard way because he has me very well trained. Me and my whole family very well trained.
What makes them so difficult? Like
They're
for
super
new.
smart.
Okay, so they can they can manipulate.
They're super smart. Like I remember when he was a puppy, he screamed at some kids, so I put him in the kennel. I don't believe in shocking my dog or any of that. So I put him in the kennel because he's not a hunting dog, and then I put it against the wall, and he like took his feet and like pushed the wall with his back legs because his back legs are stronger than his front legs. And then that's how he got out. And then he somehow figured out the latch. And then that's how he got out. And I look over and I'm like, why is Bandit out of his kennel? How did that
That's
happen?
nuts. I swear dogs have some kind of superpowers because I had a dog that did something similar, except for I still to this day don't know how she got out because the cage was still latched. I'm like, how did that happen? Like, did you somehow squeeze out you know what I mean? Like, I still to this day have no idea how that happened.
I think dogs secretly have fingers, and then when you're not looking, they like tuck them back in.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, they
Like
secretly
Edward
have
Scissorhands,
fingers.
right?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Like Edward Scissorhands, right? He's got the little. Hey, so random here. You did some research, and I really appreciate that. You've watched an episode or kind of familiar with what we do. We read a comment about, if I'm not mistaken, on one of the platforms. Are
Oh
you
my
a
God.
bacon
Oh.
enthusiast? Or explain to us a little bit about why you posted that.
Because it's bacon.
I guess I was trying to encompass who I was. I'm like, I love bacon and fishing, and I really hate rude people.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
in a nutshell, like I'm just like I love my dad was a chef, so like I love good food. I grew up eating really good food. Um, you know, it just there's no form of bacon I don't like. No form. Like, and it's really bad because like I know that bacon's really high in fat, but like what wouldn't you like about bacon? And people are like, I'm a vegetarian. That's fine. If you want to be a vegetarian, just give me your bacon.
yeah. Take their bacon.
More bacon in the world for me.
There you go.
Exactly.
I know
There you
it's
go.
super random, but they actually make an alarm clock that
I know it's super random, but they actually make an alarm clock that actually throws out the steam or the smoke, if you will.
Oh,
and then
did that
you
go
wake
to
up an
market?
alarm
I saw
clock
it on
and you
Shark
smell
Tank.
bacon
Yeah, I saw
coming out
that.
of your alarm
Yeah, I
clock.
didn't know that actually went to
think
market. That's
so.
awesome.
Yeah,
What retailer sells that?
yeah.
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't know,
So-
but you can find it.
I don't know, but you can find it online. I'm pretty sure that it has this little fog or smoke, and then you refill it, and then it's literally like
Temu.
at 6:45 in the morning. You're smelling that, getting you ready for it. So, talk to us about the rude people. In life in general and fishing tournaments. What's your strategy? I mean, I'll tell you my strategy. If someone's rude and not kind of a upbeat person that has some energy and some positivity to them, I don't really want to be around that person at a tournament or in life. But talk to me a little bit about how that kind of became
so
about as well.
When I first started fishing, of course, like I said, Nicole was one of the only other women that I knew. Like there was a lot of sexism. There was a lot of like feelings of just like I need to prove myself. But men, I still even feel like a lot of men to this day don't feel like we belong in that sport. Or they don't take us seriously. Oh, there's a girl, like whatever, we can totally beat them. Kind of attitude and the way that they speak to you. In terms of social media, I get a lot of really rude, gross DMs from men, like whose D did you suck to get that
Right.
Sim sponsorship? Like things like that, just like really.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning to even now. So rude things like that. Actually, I really hadn't felt any racism until COVID. And it kind of took me aback because don't be fooled by my blonde hair. I am Asian. And like I had a lot of people be rude to me at grocery stores, gas stations, like you brought this here, like your
Wow.
people.
It's like, dude, I'm not even from
Yeah.
China.
And it's like, yeah, it's like Minnesota
That's
nice.
crazy.
Where am I kind of
Right.
thing. But I think a lot of people, I think fear makes a lot of people lash out. And like uneducation and fear makes people kind of just like not know what to do. And so they lash out. But there's rude people everywhere. I've learned to just kind of deal with it. And being a female too, and like more females fish now. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But I think there are some other females that I want to see other females do well. And I want more females to fish, where I feel like some of the newer females coming in see it as like a competition, like in a different way than just a fishing competition, like a little catty. But then again, I see men's. I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook fishing, and I see a lot of cattiness between men too. So
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I think is really cool about you, and probably why you do so well, is that you're not in a box. You know what I mean? Like, you are everything that, if anybody was going to stereotype someone that fishes, you're none of those things, but yet you still have that skill. So I think that's cool that you're like, okay, well, we're going to redefine what an angler is, you know?
Thank you.
How long have you done the influencer thing, or when did the social media thing start? Was that before or after the fishing?
It was after.
Okay.
So I'm old, you guys. Like, I think I started fishing not too much after Instagram even started. I didn't even know what a hashtag was. I just thought it looked like a waffle. Um, so, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna,
We call them
I'm such a
pound
foodie.
signs, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
that's a
such
pound sign.
everything just looks like food to me. But like back when social media started, I think that's why like I have so many people who got Instagram back when it started. Everyone just followed everyone. Where now I feel like people are pickier about who they follow.
Yeah. I've kind of noticed that too, and like, see, because like, with the new threads thing, I'm doing the podcast. We're trying to make sure we have our hands in all the buckets, So with the with the new threads thing with Meta, it's kind of like that. It's almost like if you follow someone, they automatically follow you back. So maybe we're getting in on the ground floor of that, kind of like with the Instagram.
Yeah, because then I'm guilty of it too. Someone will follow me and I'll look at their Instagram. I'll be like, yeah, I'm good. Where
Yeah.
people would just follow each other, all the time, back then. So I think new coming people who just get Instagrams like in the last 5 years, it's harder for them to get followers because it's not new and people are just kind of like, whatever, you're not, whatever. But, my main sponsor is actually down in Florida, and they're called Savage Gear. And they're the ones that really brought me into the saltwater world, and I love saltwater fishing. There's nothing, there's two
Absolutely.
different worlds. Fishing, you could say fishing's fishing, but at the end of the day, it's really not. The saltwater game is completely different. And I would highly recommend anyone who loves to fish freshwater to try saltwater and, get a guide because if you pull up a fish that you don't know what it is, like you don't want to. That's my fear. I don't want to go saltwater fishing by myself because what if it has something that like in The Simpsons
Yes.
has like 3 eyes?
Like killer dolphin.
Well, I was trying to tell Nick that musky. Honestly, if you stuck your hand in that, it might not be a trip to the hospital, but it's pretty darn close. That would cheer you up. Now, Savage Gear, I think I'm right here. Savage Gear actually makes the bats and the ducks that have the fur on them for topwater fishing. So, Nick, imagine a muskie literally eating a baby duck.
Awesome thought.
Decent sized duck. Yeah. So the Savage Gear, where are they based out of one more time?
Area.
Okay. And what other major sponsors or connections do you have that you'd like an opportunity on a public platform to maybe mention other than Savage Gear?
And Sims is out of Bozeman, Montana, and they do a lot of fly fishing, but they're breaking into the bass world. And Cortland Line, their fishing line, they're amazing. I have never had a fish break off. And American Tackle down in Orlando, they make most of the components for most of the rods that I have. So they're a pretty big deal. They're international. They're great people to work with. And for me, it's important for me to work with good people because I've come across a lot of brands, like being a female starting out, like everyone's throwing everything at you. Like everyone wants females to fish on their team. We're going to throw clothes at you. We want you to be with us. It's like, I'm picky and choosy because there's a lot of crappy people out there, and unprofessional. And I have a real job outside of fishing. So I like to make sure that, I'm professional in my fishing life as well as my actual job.
You probably have a lot of people that trust you also, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're promoting, they already know that they can trust what you're saying is good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't rep anything that I don't believe in or anything that I don't wear. I just don't because I don't need that kind of I'm not such an attention whore. I need to like rep a bunch of different crap that I don't care about just to get free shit. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get rid of shit at my house. Like my house is like so crowded. I'm trying to get rid of stuff. So unless I really love your stuff, I don't want it in my house.
That deserves a high five right there because I can't tell you how many
That
times-
deserves a high five right there because I can't tell you how many times we call them patch pirates or logo lizards. And it's like, I'm the guy that shows up in a Huck shirt or just a generic shirt that has no branding on it, right? I mean, I have a topwater company. It's not about me. It's about you on the podcast. But like, what I found is the guy that has them, either A, he deserves it, or B, he's trying to be someone that he's not. So I think speak on that side of the house because like I think you could roll up to a tournament. Hey, let's be honest. You got the followers. You put your time in. You're competitive. You're knowledgeable. You're multi-species. Speak a little bit. Make us laugh a little bit. Maybe about a funny story that you've had or a person that's trying to make
you
themselves
just go
bigger
on
than what they
Facebook.
are.
Just go on Facebook and see. Just click on anyone who's like pro staff at, and then there's like 50, pro staff at, pro staff at, pro staff at. I actually saw a meme the other day that made me laugh because the guy was like eating Taco Bell and he's like, oh, I get free Taco Bell sauce here. I guess I'm on their pro staff.
Yeah.
Sauce.
Yeah. It was like a
Yeah.
packet of
Yeah.
sauce.
We always, yeah. We always laugh too about like, it's a funny thing, but it's a known thing, like you have to buy X amount and then you get a small discount. I think building value in the brand, believing in the brand, and then if it comes with product, that's great. Do you have any outside of fishing or the realm of like directly involved in hunting and fishing sponsors
Nope,
out
not
of curiosity?
hunting. I bow hunt, but it's just because I like venison. So it's more of a food thing for me. And then I have a friend that takes the antlers and makes dog treats out of them.
Nice.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Nice.
So you're not
You're
eating,
using every part.
You're not eating.
So you're not eating bacon.
No, she
you're
is-
avoiding
she is
rude
eating
people in the
bacon.
community and fishing, or you're fishing.
Yeah, he's right.
Oh
All
yeah,
the
that's what I
bacon.
meant to say. He corrected me. Yeah, he's right. But if those things are not going on, what's maybe an avenue that we haven't talked about up to this point that you enjoy doing and taking up some of your
I
free
have
time
two
if you have any?
businesses and a real job. So I have a graphic design business. And it's kind of for my play money kind of thing. This is funny because I get most of my money from doing like wedding invitations. You'd be surprised how much money these bitches will spend on wedding invitations. Like seriously,
Oh, yeah.
like they'll send me like emails and screenshots
Oh,
of
yeah.
Etsy, and I want this and this and this. I mean, I got paid like $3,500 for wedding invitations and thank you cards, like a whole set. Yeah, because I charge out by hour, and like there's not like if you've ever met a bride, they don't know exactly what they want at the right away. They're always changing their mind because they're on like Pinterest. They're like, I like this, this, this. Oh well, unless you're gonna get married 4 or 5 times, you gotta stick to one theme, you know? And so it's always bouncing around. My second business is I do personal training. So, someone who loves bacon, encourages people to work out.
Shows you
but
that you can eat bacon and enjoy life and still stay in shape.
Bacon is very low carb.
Keto, yeah.
And then for my real job, I am a senior product development manager for a company that puts all of the holiday decor into Target and Costco and Sam's Club and
Is that what you went to
all
school
those.
for?
Kind of. Originally, I went to school for apparel design because what girl didn't want to be a fashion designer, right? And then 3 years in, some girl that graduated like 2 years ahead of me, I mean, she was fantastic. You would have thought she was going to be the next like Vera Wang. Went to New York, came back like 6 months later, and then now she works at David's Bridal doing alterations. And I was like, I don't want to work at David's Bridal
Yeah.
doing alterations and dealing with these damn brides, which I deal with them anyways with my graphic design, but I'm not sewing, So
Right.
then I pivoted and to communications, and communications kind of you can do whatever, but I did have a knack for graphic design. So and product development. And so straight out of college, I got a job at a marketing company. And I don't really honestly know how this happened, but I started doing product development for Swiss gear. And so if you walk into Target today, they have for men's belts and wallets for Swiss gear. They have a bunch of my wallets and belts that I designed for them.
Cool.
Really? That's awesome.
Definitely
Yeah.
gonna check it out. See.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's my
That's awesome.
flex.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. And then after that, I worked for General Mills for a little bit doing product development there. My mom was a food scientist, so she was very excited about that. But they kind of move you around. So I did Pillsbury and then Totino's, and then I was in soup, and I was like, oh my God, if you ever think your job is boring, like I developed soup. Like, you know,
soup for
so
you.
I'm like, yeah, new soup for you. So then
No soup for
my
you.
whole team ended up getting laid off, thank God. So
There you go.
then I got like a really good severance.
Right on.
General Mills is a wonderful company. So even if they laid me off, I got a pretty good severance. And then after that, I did product development at a fishing company, doing apparel. So that was fun because I am the consumer. And I kind of got to get my feet wet in the world of apparel development. So then I'm old. I'm 37, so it sounds like I've had a long, resume, but it's because I'm old. And then now I work at this company and it's Christmas all year round. So, it's pretty fun. So next time you go into Target or Sam's Club and you see Christmas wreaths and trees and all that, like I probably designed it.
Sweet. Yeah. So what's the end game? Or do you kind of like to just kind of ride by the seat of your pants, like whatever comes sort of thing? Or do you have like an ultimate career goal in mind for the end?
I mean, I just want to stay in product development. The thing with product development is like you see it from the beginning. Like it's basically just a sketch in my notebook to on shelf. And that's super fun for me. When I was designing for this fishing company, I mean, I see Bassmaster pros wearing my jackets.
That's cool.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So
That's super cool. We had an opportunity. The cameras were running on ESPN, and our bait was in a
nice.
a Top Pros box, and that's braggable for a little guy like us or whatever. Do you have any upcoming projects or anything you'd like to promote? Maybe that hasn't come up in natural conversation at this point.
I have one tournament left, but it's more of like a fun kind of thing. I'm hoping to get down to Florida to fish with Savage Gear a little bit. Other than that, not really. I'm just trying to get my my life in order because the summer is just a free for all for me. Like I'm fishing, I'm working, I walk in. I mean, my house is a total mess. Like to get another dog, but I need to like feed myself first. You ever just feel like you're so busy that it's just like what happened to the week? What happened like to the
Yep.
summer?
Yes.
Did this summer just not fly by?
Yep.
It absolutely did. Hey, so give me some outlook here. Say I got a family member, and let's just say they're 20 years old, okay, and they want to get into fishing and the promotional side of fishing. What's your blueprint to success that I could pass along to that hypothetical 20-year-old female angler tournament? Everything you do in fishing, if they want to be the influencing side, kind of wrap that up and just kind of expand upon what you're currently doing and the advice that you could give.
If you
want to
be taken seriously
in the industry,
don't look like a hoe on your Insta. Don't have your butt cheeks hanging out. Don't. I mean, have like maybe a few bikini pictures, whatever. But like, really show that you care. Like, network, and be professional because no one is going to take you seriously. They're just going to think that you're just a hot piece of ass who wants to get likes holding a fish. But if you really put the time in, you save your money up, you buy a boat, and you enter in these tournaments, and you post, how you did, and just kind of really just utilize the platform to help you network. Because honestly, in a professional way, it's almost like I always say, because my mom follows me on Instagram, like I don't ever post anything I wouldn't want my mom to see or my boss to see. Like be professional. If you want to be, and if this individual wants to be taken seriously, like act seriously. And I'm not saying that like fishing, you have to be all serious and then it's not going to be fun. Like it's going to be fun if that's what you want to do. But like you're not going to be taken seriously if you have your butt cheeks hanging out and you look like, an OnlyFans superstar
Yeah.
holding a fish, So
Yeah.
that's really the best thing that I can say, because a lot of people do that. Like it's like those memes, a guy will hold up a 6 pound bass and get like 10 likes, and a girl in a bikini will hold up a 2 pound bass and get like 500 likes.
Yeah.
But it's not even about the likes at this point. It's about
The networking.
building a good reputation. And I feel like I've built a very good reputation. And my fishing partner told me, she actually reached out to me to do the bass trail. And I was like, I feel so honored. Like, why, how did you hear about me? And she's like, I've never heard anything bad about you. She's like, you've been in this industry for a long time, and I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about you, because I just stay on my own lane. I fish, I do my tournaments, I network, I do what I need to for my social media. I do what I show up to shows that I need to, and then that's it. Like I'm not doing anything else that's extra, you know?
I think being an accomplished angler, I think that's exciting. But what I would also say too is you're career oriented and you happen to fish and you're good at it, right? And you know how to present that. I think there's so much value in it. I don't want to name names, but there's a couple names that are out there to where they're anglers, they fish, they're great at promotion. Doesn't really even matter the results on the water, because anybody knows that a top 50 angler that can promote is going to make more revenue than a top angler that can't promote, if that makes sense. So I think
That's what
I think that's
what I was
wise
going to say. That's
advice.
great. It's great
in
advice,
business
because
and life and in
you're
fishing.
pretty much saying, let play the long game. Don't try to do the whole get famous fast thing. Because you're right. I mean, like that, and the problem is the girls see that. They see that you can be, like up there by just exploiting yourself a little bit. But like you said, if you want to be in it for the long run, you want to be taken seriously, do it the right way.
Educate yourself, and honestly, at the end of the day, good looks don't last forever.
That's absolutely right.
You're gonna age, and then what? People aren't gonna care about you and your bikini pictures, because you're gonna be 50 in a bikini, and people are gonna be making fun of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah,
So
but if you've made your mark, though, you're there. It doesn't matter, So,
exactly. Well, and the thing is, like, you want the respect of the industry, and to get the respect of the industry, it's not that different than real life job. If I walked into my company in like a really tight, sexy outfit, and you really just dress for the job. My mom was just talking to me about this. You just dress for the job that you want. On tournaments, all my tournament pictures, I look ridiculous because I don't like to get sunburned. I'm in like pants and like a long sleeve jersey and a hat. I'm always in a hat because it gets hot out and you don't want the sun in your eyes. It's functionality for me. Fishing isn't a sexy sport for me. For me, fishing is like the real deal. Like I don't really give a shit how I look when I fish. So on my stories, I'll post like cute pictures that I'm showered and brushed my hair, but like in terms of fishing, the day, I just get up, put SPF on my face, put my hair in a ponytail, and I go. And there's a lot of really good fishermen out there. Like there's Maggie Outdoors, there's Christine Fisher, there's Nicole. Like there's so many women out there who have taken the same route that I have and really succeeded. And I think they're really people to look up to.
is there any sort of like organization or campaign that exists, or that you guys have talked about putting together to like kind of try to recruit more females into the industry?
So sorry, I laugh. There is an organization in Minnesota for women fishing. My tournament partner, who is one of my favorite people, and I feel like I've kind of just like over the years kind of learned people, and I don't really, trust everyone right away. She's a good person. She was a part of this organization, and she was just like, it's just a bunch of cattiness. And it just like, I feel like there was a really good purpose for this organization, but there are too many women there that are just catty and looking to backstab each other. And I really wish there was an organization though that like was supportive. But at the end of the day, like it is what it is. You're a woman and you like to fish, go for it. Why
Yeah.
not? Do it doesn't matter. Like just go
Exactly.
for it. And you know what?
Exactly.
I will backtrack a little bit. I never want to tell anyone what to wear. If you want to wear a bikini and post that picture, great. Like, I want you to feel good. I want you to feel sexy as a woman. But I'm just saying that constantly doing that is not the right avenue for a serious career in fishing.
I gotta agree because I think your followers, yeah, maybe you could earn X, but I think your hat would be a great example. You're respected in the industry. Your hat proves that, right? The company that you mentioned, Savage Gear, that proves that. So like those are some of the biggest companies that everybody's heard of. I even knew the bait that they had because I'm in the shows and stuff as well. But like I think you're doing right by doing that. And I think there's value in that. You're diversified your skill set too. It's business and fishing. It's not all
Aside
one
from
or
your
the
social
other,
media platforms,
at
is
that point.
there any other way you want people to be able to reach out to you? Like if they're looking for a brand ambassador for something or anything like that? Do you have a business email or anything like that?
I do have my email on my Instagram. So I do have a S Outdoors like on my Instagram. My Instagram does not list all of my sponsors. I I'm just like I said, I'm not actively looking for new Taco Bell hot sauce. Um, but if I
There you
see
go.
a company and a brand that I really like, I mean, I love um, Gary Yamamoto. I would love to be, and actually, the first year I went to the Bassmaster Classic, I was just immature and messing around and telling everyone that I was Gary Yamamoto's niece. Um, just to like get into parties, and it
There you
actually
go.
did work, and now I feel bad, but like whatever. Like I did. I got into a lot of parties. They're like, "Oh, well, we can't tell her no." So,
We actually have an interview that we've already aired coming up with Pete Robbins. That he isn't that who we were talking about with him?
Yeah. He, funny story about you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Funny story about Yamamoto. So Yamamoto has the dog. I don't know what the dog's name is, but he always carries the dog during the tournaments, right? So he meets him. He's talking to someone else, and he invites the dog out. The dog jumps out of the boat, swims under a dock. And if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, Nick, didn't he
because
have to
he
jump
was
in the
already
water and
writing
kind of save the
for
dog?
him, but they'd
Because
never
he's
met
like,
in
hey,
person. So he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna come over here and meet the boss," And then he said that when he got over there, that his dog hopped out and went right underneath the dock. So he literally got out and got him back to him. He's like, "I'm gonna kill my
that's
boss's dog."
such a cool story.
Yeah, funny story.
funny, yeah, funny story. But we'll leave you with this. So, like, the industry is actually small. Is the verbiage that I'm going to put out to people. The industry's small. You can't be more right. But the same people that know the right people that run in the crowds that people want to run with, I think people have to realize that there's a sense of camaraderie. There's a sense of professionalism. It's not about one-upping people. I've learned that some of your biggest assets are the people that you're kind of in competition with. So I think what I'm going to say is when you're in a tournament, you respect anybody that's there. You respect anybody that's grinding just like you to bring in that limit of fish. You respect the person that maybe didn't bring in any fish at all, but they're staying after to encourage and give a handshake to those persons. And I can tell that you're a class act in that industry. You're killing it off the fishing waters, and I wish you nothing but continued success
I
into the next
appreciate that.
X
Thank
amount of
you.
years.
That's a great interview, Stevie. I really didn't know because I didn't know how much
You're
I could
welcome.
contribute to the fishing conversation. But yeah, no, great points, great advice to people that are watching. So we really appreciate you being on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No Welcome to Mosaic Minds, the podcast where every episode is a colorful blend of perspectives, ideas, and conversation. Each week, our diverse team of hosts brings their unique backgrounds, experiences, and interests to the table. Mosaic Minds is your invitation to join the conversation to see the world through a kaleidoscope of viewpoints. So grab a seat, tune in, and let the mosaic unfold before you.